In late September 2025, a cluster of thunderstorms gathered over the unusually warm waters of the western Pacific. Meteorologists noticed this disturbance was different, persistent, refusing to dissipate. Sea surface temperatures were several degrees above average, fueling the system. The clouds began to rotate, a low-pressure center formed, and the invisible engine of a cyclone roared to life. Forecasters at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center and Japan Meteorological Agency issued advisories, soon naming the storm Ragasa, meaning to rush. The name would prove prophetic. As Ragasa drifted west, it rapidly organized. Within 24 hours, spiral bands wrapped tightly around a developing core. The storm fed voraciously on the ocean's heat, each cycle of rising and cooling air powering it further. With Ragasa, this feedback loop seemed supercharged, hinting at extraordinary potential. Forecast models painted a terrifying picture. Ragasa was on track for the Philippines, with alarming intensification predicted. Atmospheric conditions were perfect: low wind shear, deep warm water, and no obstacles to slow the storm. The stage was set for a tropical depression to become a monster. The Philippines, all too familiar with typhoons, braced for impact. Ragasa's formation was a warning. Something historic was brewing in the Pacific. The world watched as the storm gathered strength, its path clear and ominous. Rapid intensification, when a storm's winds jump by at least 35 mph in 24 hours, terrifies forecasters. Ragasa didn't just meet this mark, it shattered it, with winds surging by 70 mph in a single day. The storm transformed from a strong tropical storm to a violent Category 4 super typhoon almost overnight. Satellite images revealed a perfectly clear, circular eye, the stadium effect, surrounded by a thick, symmetrical eye wall. At its peak, Ragasa's sustained winds hit 195 mph, gusts over 230, and its central pressure plunged to 878 millibars, among the most powerful cyclones ever recorded. Its cloud shield stretched over 800 miles, threatening areas far from its core with gale-force winds and torrential rain. The forecast track locked in. The northern Philippines and Taiwan were directly in the crosshairs. There was no doubt, a historic, catastrophic event was imminent. The time for preparation was almost gone. Millions faced a monster barreling toward them. The Philippines, battered by more typhoons than any other nation, faced Ragasa with dread. Warnings were dire, catastrophic winds, life-threatening storm surges. Over 1 million people evacuated from vulnerable areas in one of the largest operations in the country's history. Ragasa's eye wall slammed into Luzon, unleashing a deafening roar and flattening everything in its path. Homes were obliterated, power lines downed, and entire communities plunged into darkness. Torrential rain, over 30 inches in 24 hours, triggered landslides and swollen rivers, flooding vast farmlands. Storm surges swept away coastal villages, contaminating freshwater sources. Even Manila, far from the storm's core, was paralyzed by flooding. Initial reports spoke of widespread destruction and a rising death toll. As Ragasa moved northwest, the full extent of the tragedy was only beginning to emerge. Ragasa crossed the Luzon Strait, re-energized by the Kuroshio Current, and set its sights on Taiwan. The island shut down, markets closed, transport halted, millions sheltered in reinforced homes. Ragasa made landfall near Hualien as a Category 4, flipping trucks, shattering windows, and plunging 4 million households into darkness. Taiwan's central mountain range disrupted the storm, but also wrung out record rainfall, over 60 inches in 48 hours. Catastrophic floods and landslides cut off mountain communities and destroyed infrastructure. Despite the devastation, Taiwan's world-class preparedness kept the death toll remarkably low. Billions in damage followed, but lives were saved by strict building codes and public drills. Taiwan's response became a global case study in disaster readiness. The island survived a direct hit from a monster. Ragasa's fury moved on, but its lessons remained. Ragasa, weakened but still dangerous, entered the Taiwan Strait as a Category 2 heading for southern China and Hong Kong. High-level warnings shut down Hong Kong. Streets emptied, flights canceled, and residents braced for impact. The storm's center passed north, but its vast wind field brought disruption and danger. Ragasa made final landfall in Fujian as a strong Category 1, dumping torrential rain across multiple provinces. Flooding forced the evacuation of over 2 million people and caused massive economic losses. In Hong Kong, storm surges and relentless rain triggered landslides and localized flooding, but infrastructure held. Ragasa's remnants continued inland, bringing days of heavy rain. Even in its weakened state, the storm demonstrated the region's vulnerability to extreme weather. Ragasa's record-breaking power was supercharged by climate change. Warmer oceans, fueled by decades of greenhouse gas emissions, provided the energy for explosive intensification. While typhoons aren't necessarily more frequent, the strongest storms are becoming even more powerful. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, leading to extreme rainfall and catastrophic flooding, as seen in the Philippines and Taiwan. Rising sea levels mean storm surges now reach further inland, increasing devastation. Every degree of warming loads the dice for more monster storms. Ragasa was a warning. Climate change is amplifying the risks. Coastal communities are more vulnerable than ever. The era of supercharged storms has arrived. As Ragasa swept across Asia, social media became a lifeline and a chronicle of survival. In the Philippines, Ragasa PH trended as users posted videos of roaring winds, flooded streets, and urgent prayers. In Taiwan, posts showed taped windows, calm preparation, and awe at waterfalls blown backward by the storm. Even humor emerged. Hong Kong memes about instant noodles and typhoon signals offered brief relief from anxiety. After the storm, social media transformed into a tool for aid. Photos of devastation, calls for help, and viral crowdfunding links. Survivors shared messages of resilience. "We lost everything, but we are alive. We will rebuild." Sibangan Pilipinas, Rise Philippines, became a rallying cry. Social media united communities, spread vital information, and mobilized relief. In the face of catastrophe, digital solidarity became a force for hope. The world watched, connected by shared stories and urgent needs. In every post, the human spirit endured. Ragasa's impact was felt not just on the ground, but across the digital world. In Ragasa's wake, devastation stretched across the Philippines, Taiwan, and southern China. Northern Luzon was declared a state of calamity. Rescue workers struggled to reach isolated communities. The death toll rose, and agriculture was decimated, threatening food security for months. Taiwan faced billions in infrastructure damage and thousands of landslides, but fewer lives lost thanks to preparedness. In China, flooding inundated the Pearl River Delta, disrupting factories and supply chains. The disaster exposed the vulnerability of coastal megacities to extreme rainfall. International aid poured in, but recovery costs were staggering. For developing nations, storms like Ragasa can set back progress by years. Ragasa was not just a weather event. It was a humanitarian and economic crisis. Ragasa was a wake-up call, a brutal preview of the storms a warming world will bring. The link between climate change and more powerful typhoons is undeniable. Preparedness saves lives. Taiwan's strict codes and drills contrasted sharply with the devastation elsewhere. All vulnerable nations must invest in climate adaptation, stronger infrastructure, restored natural defenses, and clear emergency plans. Every family should have a go bag and know evacuation routes. Listening to official warnings and acting quickly can mean the difference between life and death. Ragasa's story is a glimpse of our future if we fail to act. We can choose resilience and bold climate action, or face more storms like Ragasa. The storm has passed, but its message is clear. The time to prepare for a stormier world is now. Our future depends on what we do next.